My name is Sophia, and at 31 years old, I flew 13 hours to surprise Mom for Thanksgiving. After paying off her $58,000 mortgage, she called security on me. She said, "Surprises are for people who belong." I said, "Nothing. I just left without a word." And that night, I pressed one button and started something none of them saw coming. "Surprises are for people who belong here," she said, staring at me like I was a stranger on the street. Not her daughter. Not the girl who once mowed lawns in triple-digit heat to help keep the lights on. Not the woman who drained her savings to pay off her mortgage so she could retire early. No. To her, I was just an inconvenience now. That's when she called security. I hadn't seen my mother in over 2 years. Work kept me busy. Long hours, constant travel, building a startup from scratch. But I never stopped helping. Rent, repairs, even paid off her house last spring without telling her. I thought it would be the ultimate gift: freedom, security, peace. But the phone stayed silent. "No, thank you. No, how are you?" Not even a text. I told myself she must be busy, overwhelmed, maybe. So when Thanksgiving approached and I had some time off, I booked a surprise flight from Zurich. 13 hours, layovers, delays. I carried a bouquet of her favorite yellow roses. I even brought pumpkin pie from the bakery she used to love. As the taxi pulled up, I felt like a kid again, nervous, hopeful. I climbed the front steps and rang the bell, flowers in hand, heart in my throat. I heard footsteps. The door creaked open. And there she was, my mother, looking exactly as I remembered her, hair pinned up in that perfect bun, glasses slipping down her nose, a cardigan wrapped tightly around her shoulders like a shield. But her face didn't light up. Instead, her expression hardened. "What are you doing here?" she asked, voice cold, brittle. "Surprising you?" I said, smiling. "It's Thanksgiving." She glanced behind her, and for the first time I noticed the sound of laughter. People inside, familiar voices, my brother, my sister, their spouses, kids, a whole celebration I hadn't been invited to. "I flew across the world to see you," I said, swallowing the lump rising in my throat. "You should have called. I wanted to surprise you." She stepped outside, shutting the door behind her. "Surprises," she said slowly, "are for people who belong." I blinked. She looked past me, waved down a woman in a security jacket who was watching from the gate. "She's not welcome," she said. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The security guard walked over, hesitant. I think she expected me to yell, to cause a scene, but I didn't. I just nodded and left. I walked back to the street, dragging my suitcase behind me, pie in one hand, roses in the other. I didn't look back. I didn't say a word. But that night, in my hotel room, I pressed one button and started something none of them saw coming. It didn't start with Thanksgiving. It started long before. I just hadn't wanted to see it. When Dad died 5 years ago, everything shifted. Not suddenly, quietly. Like a faucet leaking until the floors flooded and you never heard the drip. Back then, I moved heaven and earth to support Mom. She was shattered, crying every night, unable to get out of bed. I flew home, took unpaid leave, paid the mortgage, handled the funeral. I didn't ask for anything in return. I was the good daughter, the responsible one, the fixer, and for a while, it felt worth it. She called me her rock. My siblings, Rachel and Ben, stood back, barely lifting a finger. Ben posted about honoring Dad on Facebook while I cleaned out his garage alone. Rachel sobbed dramatically at the funeral, then left early because her yoga retreat in Tulum couldn't wait. But I told myself, it's grief. People act strange. Give them time. Then came the asks. It started small. "Can you cover the water bill?" Rachel's car broke down and she couldn't afford the repair. Ben's startup was struggling. He just needed a bridge loan. I said yes again and again because that's what family does, right? I didn't see it then, but they weren't leaning on me. They were building a system, one where I was the ATM and they were the VIP customers. 2 years ago, I paid off Rachel's credit card debt, $9,000. She cried on the phone, told me I saved her life. A month later, she posted Instagram stories from a beachside Airbnb with the caption, "Manifesting Luxury." Then he needed just $5,000 to launch a digital art gallery. "NFTs are the future," he said. I never saw the money again or the gallery. And Mom, she played innocent, sweet, helpless. But she was the architect, the one forwarding me Rachel's Venmo request with a sad emoji. The one who forgot to mention that she'd co-signed Ben's third loan using my name until the debt collectors started calling me in Switzerland. I confronted her once. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I didn't want to stress you," she said. "You're always so stable. You're the strong one." I almost believed her. But then 3 months before Thanksgiving, I got a call from the bank. "Congratulations," the woman said. "Your mortgage payment cleared. Your balance is now 0. I blinked. "What mortgage?" "On the house in Pennsylvania, Mrs. Harmon's residence. My mother's house." I'd set up the payment schedule a year ago when she cried over her overdue bills. I paid $4,800 a month silently without telling her, a total of $58,000. I thought when she found out she'd cry again, but this time with joy. She didn't even call, not a word. Instead, Rachel texted me 2 days later. "Hey, Mom says the house is paid off. Guess that means you've got cash now. Ben needs help covering rent in LA. Not even a thanks. That was the moment something snapped in me. Not loudly, quietly. It was the realization that I wasn't family. Not to them. I was a role they assigned a resource to, a walking credit line. I stopped responding to messages. They kept coming. Ben emailed me a Google Doc titled Family Support Spreadsheet. It had suggested contributions from me for the next quarter, like I was a board member of their lives. Rachel sent me screenshots of flights to Paris, asking if I could gift her the miles. Mom forwarded me a quote for a new kitchen renovation, $22,000, with the subject line, "You always said you wanted me to live comfortably." No one asked how I was doing. They didn't know I was battling insomnia, that I hadn't taken a vacation in 3 years, that my company was bleeding cash, and I was skipping my own salary to keep my team employed. They didn't ask because they didn't care. The only call I got from Mom that entire month was when my payment didn't go through on her Amazon account. "Your card must have expired," she said, annoyed. "My card?" Not even. "Hi." That's when I started planning the surprise. I thought maybe showing up would reset something. Remind her I'm not just numbers on a screen, that I'm her daughter, that I exist beyond what I give. I didn't tell anyone I was coming. I just booked the flight, bought the flowers, the pie, rented the Airbnb nearby. But when she saw me, all she said was, "Surprises are for people who belong." Then she called security. I went back to my Airbnb that night, shaking with rage. There was this pressure in my chest like I was about to explode. I paced the room over and over until finally I pulled out my phone and pressed one button. I posted, not just a petty tweet, I dumped everything. Receipts, screenshots, the spreadsheet, the emails. I blurred names, but told the truth. I wrote for 5 hours straight. I didn't care about the fallout. I paid off my mom's $58,000 mortgage, flew 13 hours to surprise her for Thanksgiving. She called security and said, "Surprises are for people who belong." I said nothing, just left. But that night, I pressed one button and started something none of them saw coming. It went viral in 6 hours, 50,000 likes by morning. Strangers called me a hero. Others shared their own stories of toxic families and financial abuse. Therapists quoted my thread. Influencers DM'd me. Even a celebrity retweeted it saying, "Families don't get to exploit you just because you share blood." Rachel texted me, "Are you insane? Take that down." Ben sent 3 back-to-back messages. "Dude, seriously, what is this? You're ruining Mom's reputation. This is so low." Mom finally called. I didn't answer for 3 days. I didn't say a word. Not to Rachel, not to Ben, not to my mother, but they didn't stop. The messages became frantic, angry, then desperate. "You've humiliated the family. This isn't how we fix things. Delete that post or never come back here again." I wasn't planning to, but I wasn't done either. On the 4th day, Mom sent me a voice message. Her tone was calm but sharp, weaponized sweetness. "Honey, I'm trying to be the adult here. You're clearly upset, but you made your point. Okay, now it's time to clean it up. Rachel's job is at risk. Ben's landlord saw the post and is asking questions. And people I go to church with, are calling me." She paused for effect. "Is that what you wanted? To shame your own mother in front of the entire internet?" I stared at my screen for a full minute, and then I called her. She picked up on the first ring. "Oh, so now you're ready to talk." "I'm coming over," I said flatly. "Be there in 30. She hesitated. "Wait, what do you mean coming over?" "I mean unlock the door." I hung up. When I walked up to the front porch, the same one she slammed in my face just days ago, it felt different. Not like I was returning to a home, more like a war zone. Ben's car was in the driveway. Rachel's SUV, too. Perfect. I wanted them all there. Mom opened the door before I could knock. Her face was tight, arms crossed. Rachel was behind her on the stairs, glaring. Ben was in the kitchen, leaning on the counter like a lawyer, prepping for cross-examination. Finally, ready to apologize. Rachel sneered. "Sit down," I said. No one moved. I said, "Sit down." They sat. I pulled out a folder. Paper. Old school. Printed screenshots, payment records, bank transfers, invoices, all of it. "This," I said, tossing it on the table, "is every dollar I've given this family in the last 6 years." Mom glanced at it, then looked away. "You think I made you look bad online? I've been cleaning up after you people for years. Quietly, without complaint, while you mocked me behind my back. Do you want to know what's actually embarrassing? That it took me going viral for any of you to realize how disgusting this has become." Vince scoffed. "You're acting like we forced you. You offered to help." "No," I snapped. "I was manipulated. There's a difference. You played the their family card every time you needed money. But when I showed up at the door with flowers and pie, I got security." Mom's voice rose. "Because you humiliated us." I turned to her, eyes burning. "You humiliated yourself. I paid off your mortgage, $58,000, and you couldn't even text me. You planned an entire Thanksgiving dinner and pretended I didn't exist." Her lips curled. "You always act like a victim." I laughed. "No, I acted like a daughter. You treated me like an investment plan. And when I stopped yielding profit, you shut the door in my face." Rachel slammed her glass down. "You don't get to judge us. You're not a saint just because you make more money." "No, Rachel, I'm not a saint, but I'm also not your walking wallet." Ben stood up, trying to tower over me. "You think money makes you better than us?" "No," I said, rising to meet his eye, "but it opened mine." Then I dropped the final bomb. I spoke to an attorney. Silence. Mom blinked. "For what?" I pulled out a second envelope. "Remember the co-signing on Ben's loan without telling me? That's called financial fraud." Ben turned pale. "I'm not pressing charges for now, but that loan is now officially yours. I had it reassigned. You're welcome." He opened his mouth, closed it, sat down. Rachel looked at me like I'd grown horns. "You're being petty, vindictive." "No, I'm setting boundaries." I looked around the table one last time. This was never about money. It was about respect. And none of you have shown me an ounce of it. Mom shook her head like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "You've made your point. Are you happy now?" "No," I said, "but I will be." I picked up my phone, opened my banking app. One tap, transfer canceled, automatic payments gone. Apple Pay to Mom's Amazon disconnected. Ben's credit card backup email removed. I smiled. Happy Thanksgiving. Then I walked out again, but this time I didn't leave quietly. When I left that house for the second time, I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. Something inside me had burned to ash, and what rose from it wasn't sadness. It was clarity. I was done. Done being the dependable one. Done being the strong one, while they bled me dry behind a smile. That night, I turned off my phone and poured myself a drink at the Airbnb. The notifications were still pouring in online. My story had passed 100,000 shares. People from all over the world were messaging me. Strangers calling me brave. Therapists writing threads about emotional enmeshment. Reporters asking for interviews. But none of that hit me the way one single comment did. The people who say you're cruel are the ones who fed off your silence. I reread it 10 times because it was true. The next morning, I boarded a return flight to Zurich. As the plane lifted, so did the weight on my chest. For the first time in years, I wasn't calculating how much money I had left to send someone. I wasn't scanning my inbox for another Venmo request. Disguised as a family emergency, I just stared out the window and exhaled. And then, silence. Glorious, aching silence. No texts from Mom. No guilt bombs from Rachel. No urgent calls from Ben, but not because they didn't try. I had blocked them all. The first week back felt surreal. I kept expecting to feel guilty, like some invisible hand would reach into my chest and twist, but it never came. Instead, I felt peace. I worked without distraction, slept a full night, took a walk at 2 a.m., just because I could. I even booked myself a weekend retreat in the Alps. Nothing fancy, but the kind of thing I used to tell myself I didn't have time for. 2 weeks later, Rachel tried to go public. She posted a passive-aggressive, family shouldn't be transactional post with vague references to someone exploiting the internet for attention. Her friends cheered her on, but unfortunately for her, the internet wasn't buying it. Screenshots of her old messages leaked, ones where she bragged about milking her rich brother like a cash cow. That post was deleted within 24 hours. Ben didn't say anything online, but I knew he was spiraling when I got a call from a blocked number, and it was his boss. Turns out Ben had listed me as a professional reference, and I guess someone had found the viral thread. "Is all this true?" the woman asked. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Ben got fired the same week. Mom predictably doubled down. Friends told me she was telling everyone I'd lost my mind and had turned against the family. She even held a little dinner at her house. Same table, same turkey, fewer guests. I saw a photo. She looked tired, worn down, and for once, no one was performing. Then something happened I didn't expect. People in the extended family started reaching out, not to scold me, but to say thank you. An aunt I barely knew sent me a DM. "I've always admired how you handled things. Now I understand how much they put on you." A cousin in Ohio messaged, "When I read your story, I cried. I've been going through the same thing with my parents. You gave me courage." Even Mom's sister, who hadn't spoken to her in over a decade, wrote, "Your mother did the same thing to me. I just didn't have the strength to walk away. You did." That's when I knew. I hadn't blown up the family. I'd exposed the rot that was already there. The money wasn't the issue. It never was. It was the entitlement, the performance, the way they only showed love when there was something to gain. Without my money, there was nothing to bind them together anymore. I was the glue, and when I pulled away, the cracks split wide open. But the biggest surprise came 3 weeks later. I was at work when my assistant poked her head in. "There's someone downstairs asking to see you," she said. "She said she's your sister." I stood there frozen. "Which one?" She blinked. "She didn't say, but she looks rough." It was Ben. I met him in the lobby, arms crossed. He looked ruined, hair a mess, sunken. He had lost weight. No smug grin, no rehearsed lines. He looked up at me. I messed up. No defense, no accusations. Just those 3 words. I didn't say anything. He swallowed hard. "I lost my job. Rachel won't speak to me. Mom's acting like she's the one who's been betrayed." I kept staring. "I know I can't take it back," he said, "but I came to tell you something." He pulled out his phone and showed me a screenshot. He had paid off the full balance on the loan he co-signed with my name. No help from Mom, no help from Rachel, just him. "I'm fixing what I can," he said, "and I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted to say I'm sorry." I didn't hug him, I didn't cry, but I nodded. That was enough. I didn't go back. Not for Christmas, not for birthdays, not even when Mom accidentally texted me a blurry photo of an old family album with the message, "Some memories are priceless." I left her on read. And you know what? I didn't feel guilty, because for the first time in my life, I had nothing to explain. I wasn't the villain. I was the one who finally turned off the faucet while everyone else screamed that the water was their birthright. I used to think family meant unconditional love. Now I know some families mean unconditional access. Access to your time, access to your money, access to your silence. And when you take that away, they don't mourn you. They mourn the services you provided. My mother didn't miss me. She missed the mortgage getting paid on time. Rachel didn't miss her sister. She missed the free flights, the Venmo hits. "Hey, can you just then?" She got it eventually, but only because life finally told her no, the way I never did. I still remember the last message Mom sent before I blocked her for good. "You were always the difficult one. Maybe if you just tried harder, we wouldn't be here." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. I tried harder than any of them. I tried so hard I paid for 3 lives that weren't mine, and they still called me selfish when I finally chose myself. And here's the twist they'll never admit. They needed me more than I ever needed them. Because now I'm thriving. I sleep. I hike. I eat food that tastes good because it's for me. I booked a month off next spring. No emergencies to plan around. No draining accounts to refill someone else's irresponsibility. People ask me if I regret making my story public. Not for a second. Because sometimes shame is the only currency abusers understand. They didn't care when I was drowning quietly. But when I stood up and said, finally chose to take back control, The world heard it. And they hated that. They didn't lose their golden goose. They lost the version of me that tolerated being taken for granted. And I didn't burn bridges. I just refused to keep paving them alone. Let them build their own next time. Let them bleed for someone else. I sent 3 texts to Dad. Disney Plus is on my card. Canceling end of month. You can start your own. To Mom, please stop putting my number on forms as the emergency for bills. Use yours. To Bree, I won't be available for weekday rides. If you can't find someone, call the league. Many parents carpool. The replies came fast and dramatic. Dad, ungrateful. Mom, you're breaking my heart. Bree, hope your fancy chef friends can come to your funeral when no one shows up. Muted. 2 weeks into the new job, I met with HR and set my beneficiaries, a thing I'd put off forever. I listed a charity I care about, Louise, and a note that said, if Tyler is over 18 and in school, he can apply for a one-time grant. It was private. It was mine. It was a way to love a kid without funding an adult's choices forever. There were cracks in the storm. One was a voicemail from Dad at 11:43 p.m. Sinks fixed, he said. Plumber cost $180. Robbery. Then a smaller voice. Worked fast, though. He hung up before the thank you could sneak out. Another crack. Bri texted me a photo of Tyler doing homework. He asked how to multiply. She wrote, we watched a video. No ask, no jab, just a report from a different planet where we share information instead of invoices. I noticed the house I rent got quieter too. Not just because there were fewer calls, but because my brain stopped rehearsing arguments in the shower. I cooked for myself without making extra to drop off. I tried a dish, charred cabbage with anchovy butter, that nobody in my family would eat, and I plated it like a restaurant plate and sat at my own table and ate it while it was hot. On the first of the month, Bri didn't text at 8 o'clock a.m. She texted at 8 o'clock p.m., made rent. 2 dots. Wasn't easy. I typed, proud of you. And I meant it. She didn't reply. That was okay. The quiet didn't mean nothing hurt. It meant the hurts had names. When Mom posted a Facebook photo of Tyler with a caption that said, it takes a village, and tagged everyone except me, I closed the app and did the dishes. When Aunt Leia wrote in the family chat, Olivia thinks she's better, I didn't defend myself with my ledger. I let other people think whatever made their lives feel meaningful. 3 weeks after the breaking point, I met Bree for coffee because she asked and because I said I would try if she asked without demanding. We sat at a little table by the window. She looked tired. Not performative tired, real tired. I found a cheaper place, she said, picking the lid on her latte. It's smaller. Tyler has the bedroom. I'll do the couch for now. It's in the same school zone. That's good, I said. How's he taking it? He likes that the park is closer, she said. He told me to ask you if you could still come to his Saturday games sometimes. I can't, I said. I like watching him try. She chewed her lip. I was mean, she said, about the wife and kids. Yeah, I said, you were. I'm sorry, she said. Not dramatic, not weaponized, just words put in the right order. Thanks, I said. I'm not changing the boundary. I know, she said. We sat. We watched a dog try to catch a leaf through the glass like it was important. We didn't solve us. We made a dent in something heavy. I didn't become a different person. I became the same person with proof I could say no and survive it. The hotel kitchen is bright and loud in a different way than the bistro and bars where I learned to hustle. We have systems. We label. We don't wing it because winging it makes poor people cry on the first of the month. I run family meal at 4:01 p.m. and feed the crew pasta and salad and sometimes chicken thighs because I can't quit chicken thighs. Someone always says, this is the best thing I'll eat all day. And I believe them, and it matters. I set alarms for things that are about me. I booked a dentist appointment I'd rescheduled 4 times. I bought a new pan with a handle that won't blister me. I got a mattress that doesn't feel like a collapsed soul. Tiny luxuries. No apology attached. Sundays, I walk to the farmer's market and buy too many lemons. I text Louise photos of ugly tomatoes like they're pets. Sometimes I see a family doing the full movie version. Matching outfits, stroller, laughter, and my chest tightens. I used to think that men I'd failed. Now I think it means I'm human. Bree and I are not best friends. We are not enemies. We are people who share a childhood and a kid we both love. She sends me Tyler's schedule on Mondays instead of hours before the game. I circle 2 dates a month and write Tyler in my notebook like a reservation I'll keep. When I can't make it, I say so on Tuesday, not on Friday at 5. Mom still sends Barb texts sometimes. Haven't seen you in a while, she writes. Hope the hotel is worth it. I reply, it is. Hope you're well. Dad calls once every 2 weeks to ask, you still working there? Like a test I keep passing. He told me last week the sink hasn't leaked since the plumber came. He said it with grudging respect, like the pipe betrayed him by doing its job. Tyler called me on his own last Friday. We made stir fry, he said. I cut carrots like you showed me, I said. That's awesome, he said. Did you keep your fingers tucked? Claw hand, he said proudly. Smart mom, I said. He paused. Are you mad at us? No, I said. I was mad. Now I'm done being used. Oh, he said like he had found a new word. I still hear Bree's old line in my head sometimes. Where's your wife and kids? And it stings less every time. My life isn't a waiting room for someone else's approval. It's a kitchen I get to run. The last thing I did for me was tape a card by my door at eye level. Black marker. Simple. Respect is the price of admission. I read it before I leave. I read it when I come home. It applies to everyone, including me. Here's the part one I want to say for anyone who understands the math of being useful until you disappear. Saying no picked a fight I'd been losing by default. It didn't make me cold. It made me honest. It didn't end love. It ended access. This isn't about revenge. I told them this is about closure. I meant I'm closing the tab you've kept open on my life. You can open your own. So when I think about that Thursday, the interview, the laugh, the order disguised as a favor, I don't picture the look on Bree's face. I picture mine in the car window, tired, steady, not cruel, clear. I still bring soup sometimes when Dad is sick. I still slice extra cake on birthdays. I still cheer too loudly when Tyler hits the ball. I don't cancel a job interview for a ride that could have been arranged with a calendar and 2 texts. From now on, we plan or we don't. We ask or we don't. We respect or we don't. I love them either way. I just love myself enough to stop paying for everyone else's emergencies with my future. That's my door. That's my boundary. And for the first time, it feels like